Hey guys, welcome back to the interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with the patch 6.2 K rundown, and I cannot believe we're on the K patch. Now if you guys remember, I was so kind of impressed when we reached like the E patch and F patch because we rarely ever had those, and then ever since then we just keep running down the alphabet. You know, we end from E, F all the way to like K, which is like, I don't even know what to say about it now, but anyways, let's just get straight into it. So we have a number of champion changes as well as a couple of item changes. Now, of course, we do know that patch 6.3 is going to be out at, I think it's like 22nd or 23rd of October, and we are expecting a patch notes preview like in the next coming days, even as soon as tomorrow. So we'll have to see how that shakes things up, but the leaks have kind of shown that there are going to be quite a few major changes. So first off, Swain, after getting his mini rework on the ultimate, a lot of people have been saying that he has been feeling very weak, and they're basically buffing him. Basically they're reverting the passive, and the healing you get is kind of reverting to what it was before the rework, and then his base health and base armor is also going up. So it's quite a sizable buff to Swain, right? Base health is going to help him a lot in the earlier stages of the game, as well as base armor, and then the healing you basically get back. You get the reversion back to what it was before the nerf, more or less, right? So I personally have encountered Swain a little bit. I did think his damage on the ulti is a little bit better, but I did think he was pretty squishy because a lot of Swains are building AP. So I guess this will all kind of help out with that quite a bit. And I think Swain players do have to kind of adjust to the kind of new Swain in terms of his build and even a little bit of the playstyle, right? Because you kind of have to proc your ulti a couple of times by kind of running in an enemy. So we'll have to kind of see where all this goes. But for now, I don't really have much comments on this one because I don't really know how the new Swain works that well just yet. However, with Talon, he definitely has not been very strong in the meta for a very long time, and they have been slowly buffing him up bit by bit. Now this round, they're lowering his ult cooldown by 5 seconds, as well as increasing the AD scaling on his ulti, as well as slight base damage increase. Now I think that Talon is going to kind of reach a tipping point where he will be strong, because it seems that Riot are quite keen to make him strong just because he keeps getting buffed time and again. So it really seems like Riot want Talon to kind of be in the meta. So I think sooner or later these small bumps will kind of reach a tipping point where Talon is going to be good again, and you're going to find him in the meta. I'm not sure if this is the buff that's going to do that, but I do think that's going to happen sooner or later, and this is another step toward that direction. So with Olaf, he's getting some interesting changes. Now I'm gonna admit that I rarely see Olaf nowadays, right? I don't see Olaf in the jungle. I rarely see Olaf in the top lane. I have encountered one a couple of games ago, but I rarely see him, so I don't really know how weak or strong he really is right now. Now Riot are saying that he's hard to deal with in the early game, so what they're basically doing to both his Q and his E is they're lowering the base. They're lowering the base damage of the Q and E. Yeah, they are lowering the base damage of the Q and E, and they're increasing the AD scaling and compensation. So now, in theory, what this is supposed to do is, in the earlier parts of the game, this should make him slightly weaker, but in the later stages, because he gets more AD scaling, it should kind of be roughly similar. It's kind of what they're going for here. Now, as I said, I don't really know how strong Olaf even is at the moment, so I'm not sure how this is going to affect him, but from what I kind of can tell, Olaf is kind of a champion where he's a very stat checky champion, right? So if you can get like a kill or two in the early game and you can get more items, then the enemy outstat them basically, and you can kind of just run over the game and just run people down and you start to kill them. So hitting his early game, I do think is a decent nerf to him, because obviously that will kind of prevent him from getting that initial kill and snowballing. So I do think that this is an overall nerf to Olaf in my opinion, but we'll kind of have to see how that affects him. Now this is the kind of the jokester change of the patch, right? Which is that Kha'Zix has been getting buffed continuously, and as I said, there's going to reach a point where he's strong, right? And he has already reached that point, and now what they're doing, they're kind of reverting a lot of the buffs and kind of just nerfing him instead, which is just funny, right? Because do you want him to be strong or not, right? I guess they wanted him to be strong, but he's now too strong. So they're nerfing the cooldown on his Q, adding 0.5 seconds at all ranks. And this 0.5 seconds really matters a lot, right? Because the cooldown is so low, right? It used to be like 3 seconds at max rank since you maxed it first. So 3.5 seconds is actually a decent, it's a decent actual like nerf. The 0.5 seconds is a decent nerf in terms of cooldown, since the cooldown is actually so low that you basically like auto attack Q and then you try to Q again very soon after. And the void spike base damage is also decreasing which of course is his W by 10, so a minor nerf there. And his ulti cooldown is going up by 5 seconds. So overall, I would say pretty minor nerfs across the board, but I guess they just kind of want him to still be strong, but kind of keep him a little bit in line with other champions. So he is getting some nerfs, but the nerfs are not very heavy. I still think Kha'Zix will be a strong jungler even after these nerfs, but definitely not as good as what he was. Now I think Aurora is another champion that definitely needed some nerfs. Like, the Auroras are just one-shotting you with their basic combo without even their ulti, which I think is just ridiculous, right? Like, they go invis, they basically come out of invis, QEQ, and then you just get one shot 100 to 0 if you're a squishy target. And I think that's just ridiculous, right? Like, if you get one shot by the ultimate inside the combo, that's one thing. I think that's somewhat fair since she is a burst mage, but getting one shot by the basic combo is just ridiculous. So what they're doing, they're nerfing both of her basic damaging abilities, her Q and her E, by 5 damage at all ranks for both, right? Now I think that that's still a very minor nerf, 5 damage. They didn't hit the AP scaling at all, and they hit the base damage by 5 points only. So I still think that she's gonna be still very strong, but definitely it's a step in the right direction. The fact that they're actually giving her some nerfs means that they're at least aware that she's strong. Now Yone also getting some nerfs. Jungle camps are going to take 5% less damage from his Q, I believe that is, or is that his passive? I think that's his Q. Right. Either way, it's going to affect his jungle clear mildly, and his W shield is going down, both in terms of base value as well as in terms of bonus AD. Of course, Yone is a relatively strong champion, as is Yasuo, and they have been for quite a duration already. If you're good at these champions, they are going to be pretty strong. So they are getting but he is getting a bunch of nerfs, which should make him quite a bit weaker. Like, the shield nerf is quite drastic, so definitely will hit him a little bit. Now we got some interesting item changes. So firstly, Nashor's Tooth. Apparently it's been granting too much AD/AP. Now Runans did get this nerf as well way back when. So now instead of getting 30 AD or 60 AP, you're not only gonna get 25 AD or like 25 AD or 50 AP. Now I find this very strange because there really is not a lot of champions who build Nashor's Tooth, right? It's really only like AP Varus who builds Nashor's Tooth, and like maybe Gwen builds Nashor's Tooth. These are really the only two champions that come to mind immediately who build Nashor's Tooth as a first item, or even at all, right? Because ADCs don't build Nashor's Tooth unless they want to build AP, which is pretty much just Varus, who really just wants to build AP. And then top laners only like really build Nashor's Tooth if they're the kind that want attack speed and they're going in and fighting, which is really, other than Gwen, the only other one I can think of is Teemo, but I don't think Teemo builds Nashor's Tooth anymore. I think he has way better items than Nashor's Tooth nowadays, so you don't really go for that attack speed kind of auto-attacking version of Teemo. Now you go for those like Infinity Orb, the Andries kind of items, like those bursting people down when they step on your ultimate kind of build. So I don't even think he builds it anymore. So I can only infer that this is a nerf to Varus, because I think Varus is like the best ADC right now, and Nashor's is one of his important items. So I think this is probably a nerf to Varus. I guess it's a nerf to Gwen as well, who is pretty strong but not like top tier. So yeah. And then you have Infinity Orb, which definitely has been a very strong item. Every mage builds it consistently, and I'm not sure why now is the time to nerf Infinity Orb, because it has been strong ever since it came out, right? And I'm not sure if Yordle items are sticking around in the next patch 6.3. So the part that they're hitting is the extra passive it got when it became a Yordle item, which is the explosion you get when you kill someone. So the explosion damage is going down in the later parts of the game, and the AP ratio is getting halved. Now I think this explosion damage definitely has been pretty high, and they're claiming it does do a lot of chain deaths, which it does do if the circumstances are right. The explosion is also way bigger than I initially thought it was when I initially saw the item in 6.2. So the main thing that surprises me is not the fact that it got nerfed, but the fact that it only got nerfed like right now, right? Like, if you wanted to nerf it, why not nerf it like 5 patches ago at this point, right? Like, I find it really, really interesting how they're only nerfing it now, but I definitely do think it's a very strong item, and I think it getting nerfed is definitely makes sense. Now, Seralda's Grudge is another very interesting change, because again, I don't think a lot of people are building Seralda's Grudge. Really, the main Seralda's Grudge user I can think of is going to be Ezreal. Like, even assassins who these are meant for, I mean, Kha'Zix, I guess, kind of builds Seralda's Grudge, but not many people even build it, and it's getting a very, very huge nerf, right? So the frostbite damage is going down from 25 base to now 10 base, and it's going from 5 to 75 to like 2 to 30. So overall, the damage here is getting like halved, right? More than halved for the most part. And the AD scaling is going down from 70% to 40%, which is also more than half. So what I can only infer is Serrato's Grudge must have been doing way too much damage for them to like literally half its damage, right? And I never really felt that, I guess, because I only build it on Ezreal, and I only build it like very late into the game. I never really build it like a third item, which I know is what a lot of people do. So I guess maybe it was very strong, which is why people are going for it so early. But personally, I really don't know about this one, because I never really encountered Serrato's Grudge all that much, as I said, except on Ezreal. Like whether it's on me or like on the enemy Ezreal. So I guess it just must have been very strong, I just never noticed. And that's pretty much going to be it for the patch. Of course, 6.3 is coming up real soon. We're looking forward to the patch preview. So thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.